So we're looking at 7, and we're looking at B. So if we look at B, what are my two ions that they're asking us about? Okay, so again, we're going to split these two apart and start looking them up to see what's going to make my precipitate happen. So what items can make me precipitate when we look at sulfate? Okay, so CaSR.
Yeah. DARA, PV, HG2. We look at the lower solubility, right?
Right. So did I miss anyone there?
No.
Okay, and then if we look at iodine for our rules again for insolubility.
AG, PV, HG2, C2, and
TL. AG, PV, HG, TL, and what? Okay, that's it?
Yep.
Okay, so then what I would look for are ones that are common across the melt, because I can't use them, right? Because if I use silver with sulfate, silver will also make it for iodine. It'll precipitate out, right? So therefore I'm just going to cross them out. So my silvers I can't use, my PV or lead I can't, HG I can't, then I'm left with some choice here, right? So last time we made two equations and said what's gonna go with what, just to have an order. Okay, you can do it as one big equation right off the bat. So I'm just gonna show you that way, and just in case that makes more sense to you. So I'm lazy, so I go for usually the first one that I see that matches with it. So I'm gonna go with the Ca because we said that would. And then I know you said Cu before the TL, so I'm just going to put the copper. Okay? So I want copper to end up with iodine, and I want calcium to end up with sulfate. So that means that they can't be with each other at the start. So they're going to be with the opposite buddies. So what I mean by that is that this was my equation now. I would have calcium with iodine at the beginning, and I would have copper with my sulfates, and then they're going to switch. Prior to me doing that though, I have to look at charges. So calcium is a +2 because it's in group 2. Iodine is a -1. So I have to crisscross or equal to 0. So I should have Ca12 or I2, sorry. Aqueous. With my copper there, does it indicate which charge it was? Does it have a plus or a +2 on the top of it? Just a plus. So that means that I have a +1. My sulfate is a -2. So what am I going to do? Crisscross, and my little 2 is going to go behind that copper. So it looks like that. And again, it's going to be aqueous. Okay. Now I'm going to switch my two items. Right? So I'm now going to switch, and I'm going to put my copper with my iodine and my calcium with my sulfate. I'm going to check to see my charges. Well, I had a +1 and a -1, so we're good. A +2 and a -2, so we're good. So I need to balance it. How am I going to balance it? A 2 where? Okay. This one's going to make a solid, and this one's going to make a solid. Okay? Now, usually, depending on what you have, you might be able to do it all in one step. They might be different colors when they precipitate or whatever. Or you can have shown this as a two-step process. What am I going to hook up with one and then the other? Okay? So that's how B would look. Could I have used different elements instead? I could have used any of the other ones up there, right? So Kristen could have used SR, Lily could have used BA, and Theo could have used RA, and Darcy could have used the TL, right? Like it could have varied. Hence the reason why on assignments, exams, and even if you have a departmental or anything like that, you need to really watch for that. And if you think that you have it correct and I made an error, just double check it and come up and talk with me, right? So it's something that can easily be missed. So I'm going to move on to C then. We're feeling a little better about it?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so I still have people who are following me?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we look at C, this time I have which two elements? Or ions, I should say? Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, find out what kind of items that we have. So let's look at hydroxide first.
All of them. So
Okay, so these are my soluble ones.
yeah, Li, Nk, K, Rb, CS, Fr, H, NH4, Sr, Bk, Ra, Cl.
Okay, so those are soluble. Okay. And then if we look at bromine, what are my ones here?
Ag, B, Hg, Cu, Tf, and those numbers related.
These are ones that I can't use. Okay. So this means that we're going to compare these two lists then, right? Because if it's soluble here, it's not going to make it precipitate, but on this side it would, right? So there's two different ways that you could look at it. Might be the way that you also tell me to precipitate it out, if that makes sense too. So for instance, silver's here, right? So it'll precipitate out. It would also precipitate on this one, right? So it's not found there. So if I found something to get hydroxide out first, and then I use silver, then it would be acceptable, right? I couldn't use silver in the first one. They would precipitate both of them out, and wouldn't know which one to grab. Does that make sense? So you can switch it up. So I'm just going to give you an example of one. So if I was looking at this, because you said all others that could go in, I'm going to look at iron, because iron's not on my list there. So I just randomly decided on it. Okay. So I decided to do iron. I went with the 3 on iron. Remember, there's 2 choices for it. Okay.
Wait, do you have to pick one that's not on either list?
In this case, anything that's not one of these here can be used to pull out hydroxide.
Okay.
So I want to use one that's not on this list and not on that one because I don't want my silver to precipitate for this example. So I decided to go with iron. Give me some other examples of what could be used to pull out hydroxide besides iron. Here, go. Yeah. Yeah. So do you see why there are so many other options here, and you really have to watch for it? So do something that doesn't hit either one of those lists. So I decided to do iron. Okay. I'm going to add it to my hydroxide. Okay. Looking at my charges, I have a +3 and a -1, so I have to have that 3 there, and I know it's going to make me a solid. So I know that adding these 2 ions together will create this solid bromine. Then I'm going to look at bromine. Okay. And because I just usually go with the very first one, I'm just going to go with silver. That's the first one that's stated. So I'm going to have silver plus bromine. And remember, I need to use my ions or charges here. So a plus and a negative. They're aqueous. I'm going to put them together. They're both +1, or sorry, both 1s. So crisscross or equal to 0, and this one's going to make me a solid. Now, I have to do that step second, hence the reason why I put a 2 there, because if I do it first, what's my problem going to be? Yeah, the other one's going to precipitate as well, or it won't know which one it's grabbing. Is it grabbing hydroxide or is it grabbing bromine?
You do it at the same time.
Sorry?
You do it at the same time like
You couldn't do this one at the same time because silver could be precipitated out here. If you picked a different one, yeah, you could choose and put them all together. In this case, I just wanted to show you that you would have to do 2 steps if you chose to do it like this. Yeah, like Theo was saying, if you did the same steps that we did last time and put it all together, as long as both of them aren't going to get precipitated out at the same time with the same item, then that's fine. Okay? So then this one's done. So I think we go on to D.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna go on to D. If you're feeling good, that's fine. Just move on for yourself. There's those questions. Do the questions first, and then start working on the review. There will be some additional practice ones. There's time for you to work on your SDS tomorrow as well. So if we're looking at D, is it just Kristen that's going with you? That was it too? You guys working on your own, the rest of us? Okay, so which 2 elements am I looking at? Or ions?
PB and NG.
Okay, is there a charge with PB?
Yes, they both have +2.
For both +2s? Okay. So, this time we're going to look them up again, and I'm going to look at it in a different light, because last time we were always looking at the negative anions, right? So if we look at our list, how it says negative ions and then positive ions, we're going to have to look at this, and we're going to look at the positive side of it instead of the negative. So we're just flipping the idea. So, we're just going to kind of go through this and see what we have. I usually choose ones that are easy for me to do just for writing things out. If we look at the first one, it has like all these positive ones, and it doesn't name the 2 that we're looking at. The second one there says essentially all, right? Or sorry, with the negative ions, but it's not dealing with the 2 positive cations we're looking for, right? Lead or magnesium, so we're going to skip those. If we go to nitrate, anything that hooks up to nitrate is going to basically be soluble, so that's fine. So we're going to skip the first one. Okay? Do you understand how I say that? Okay. Then if I look at 5, the only one that does low solubility is silver, so that's not helpful for me here again, so I'm going to skip it. Then this brings me to rule 6. Okay. Now, it doesn't really matter how you decide to do this, I just work my way down. Okay? So because I'm looking at this one, the ones that are going to create low solubility are silver, lead, mercury, copper, and gallium. There's my lead, right? So I have lead, and it can hook up with one of those items. Which one do we want to choose? Bromine, chlorine, or iodine? To me, which one do we want? Bromine? Okay. So we're going to hook it up with bromine, because that's what's going to make me precipitate. We know that. Okay. Then we're just going to keep looking to see what else we can find. So we're going to skip this one because it doesn't have it. We're going to go to the next line, and it says calcium, strontium, barium, radon, lead, silver, and mercury. Again, it doesn't have any magnesiums for me, so we're going to skip it. I could have used sulfate for lead though, right? You see that? Oh, lead is there again under sulfate, so I could have used that one also. So you see there's more choice. So I'm looking at the next one, and I'm scanning through, do I see magnesium anywhere? I do, I see it as magnesium, but it's soluble. So what does that mean? Can't use it because you do it precipitate, so I'm going to skip it. We're going to go to the next one, which is down here, right? there
Yeah,
is yeah, we do.
no magnesium listed in group 10, right? So all others would be in option. You see that? Okay. Yeah, group 10. Well, the problem is with this one here is that, oh, I guess you could have magnesium. Nope. So you could have, yeah, I missed it. Yep.
So it's a possibility there. So I'm gonna go to group 10 just because I missed it the first time. So which one do you want to hook it up with? You could choose carbonate, phosphate, or sulfite. What are you thinking, Kristen?
Phosphate.
Phosphate? Okay, so do you see how just work through each one to see if it's going to give you one or not? So then this time, we want these two to end up together, right? That's my goal, that's what I'd like. So I just randomly decided what I'm going to start with. So I'm going to say that this is my first step, and I'm going to put magnesium with my bromine, okay, just so that we see how it'll switch. Magnesium has a +2, bromine has a -1, so crisscross. I'm going to add it to my lead. Okay, my two positives are going to switch. So Mg is now going to be on its own, and I'm going to have lead with bromine. And again, I'm going to have that 2. These ones are going to be an aqueous substance. Okay, and this one will be 2. We know that lead and bromine is what we wanted together, and that's going to create my solid. So in this case, take those two together and swap them. So now I've pulled this one out, and I'm happy. So I'm going to do my step 2. What do I have left over? Well, I have my magnesium sitting in there, right? So I'm going to have my magnesium, an aqueous substance, and then this time I want it with my phosphate, because that's what I'm going to add to it. And -2, -3. 3. Okay, so I'm going to have, can you read that? So I have these two items, and the reason why, remember this one is an ion, so it's like what's left over. Does that make sense? We wrote out an equation, so I still have magnesium sitting there, and then we're going to add the phosphate to it to make my items together. So I have magnesium, and I have phosphate. Remembering my charges of a +2 and a -3, I got a crisscross. So that 3 is going to come this way. I'm going to put this in brackets and put my 2. We already established when those two items are put together that I'm going to get a solid. Right? And then we're done. Are we feeling better?
Yeah.
Do you want, if there's a couple more, you want another one? You're good? Okay. You're good? Okay.